we are now seeing a major turn of events. Before the Speaker of the House was ousted by other Republicans, we were being told that Speaker Kevin McCarthy was actually putting together a backroom deal with President Biden, and that backroom deal included funding for Ukraine. Well, what we are now hearing is that the discussions are surrounding $100 billion. What is $100 billion going to go to? How's it going to help? Well, you're not going to believe who's going to get it, because all $100 billion are potentially going to go to Ukraine. Now, I want to address why this is, what's happening, and the breaking news that has just come out over the last few hours. So make sure you watch this entire video, and I'll explain everything that is going on. So let's get right down to it. So according to multiple reports, according to White House officials and several lawmakers, they are saying that the Biden administration wants to provide a one-and-done style package. This one-and-done style package would include about $100 billion in aid going to Ukraine. Now, that's not going to go directly to the American people, but according to multiple officials, they are saying that by helping out Ukraine, it helps out the United States. I will explain more on that in just a second. But according to these reports, the $100 billion would be enough funding to keep assistance going to Ukraine until after the November 2024 election. So what we've heard is that the Biden administration was wanting $24 billion in funding to go to Ukraine. And then that got whittled down to about $6 billion. But the Biden administration still believes that $24 billion would last about three months. So what they are concerned with is if we don't see another bill get passed for Ukraine, especially in 2023, nothing's going to happen in 2024. They understand that it would be almost impossible to start sending more money, more ammunition, more military equipment, more just general funding to Ukraine, which according to reports, about 40% of what we send to Ukraine goes to emergency personnel, goes to farmers, okay? And so the problem there is they have billions and billions of dollars going to emergency personnel. But how much of that money is going to, actually fighting the war? Or are we just funding Ukraine, right? That's the question. And nobody really has an answer. Well, what I can tell you right now is that the American people are questioning whether or not this funding for Ukraine is for something different. Are we really funding or sending assistance to Ukraine so that they can fight Russia? We don't know, right? We have no clue. But that's what we're being told. Because what is now being said is, why would we send $100 billion? Why would we appropriate $100 billion in funding for Ukraine? So that the Biden administration can slowly leak it out, start sending it out to Ukraine. Well, here's the other thing. If we appropriate $100 billion and then all of a sudden the war is just over, right? Russia wins or Ukraine wins and things go back to normal, let's say over the next 3 to 6 months, what happens to the other $50 billion? That's the big question. That's the question that a lot of people are asking, is what happens then? Yes, Congress appropriated that money for a specific instance, and just like we saw earlier on this week, is that the Biden administration tells us that they have to build more of the border wall down in South Texas because that was appropriated by Congress. They have to legally use that money for that specific purpose. But as we all know, anytime the president or Congress decides, we got an extra $50 billion right here, I think we should reappropriate this to something else. Congress has done it many times before. Okay? So would Congress then see, we only spent $40 billion on Ukraine, let's take the extra $60 billion and let's go use it elsewhere? We could. And that's what some are speculating, that's a high possibility that actually happens. Now, here's something else you need to understand. The White House officials are saying that assistance to the American people will be coming, but they believe that spending $100 billion on Ukraine would be enough to possibly end the war. which if we end the war, this would mean gas prices would come falling down. We'd see food costs would plummet. Things would potentially go back to normal. That's what they're telling us. They say, don't worry, we got it. This Bidenomics is working, right? We are going to send money to another country that is fighting their own war, and potentially that would get us back to normal. Prices would come down. Inflation wouldn't be up at 3.7% or whatever it may be later on this week. And according to multiple experts, the Biden administration understands that they will not be able to ask for additional aid during an election year. So they're putting all their eggs in this basket. What's interesting, though, is they're right now, the House of Representatives is trying to figure out who the next Speaker of the House is going to be. Not a temporary speaker, okay? The actual Speaker of the House. And as of right now, we just don't know who this is going to be. But what some people are asking is, okay, if we are now negotiating who is going to be the Speaker of the House, and we're going to have a vote on that, potentially what we're going to see is we're going to see that Speaker start negotiating with President Biden, start negotiating with Democrats to ensure that what they want is something that the Speaker of the House is willing to put on the floor. So again, President Biden asked previously for about $24 billion. That's what he asked for, and it would have lasted until probably January or February. The problem, though, is if that's all he asked for and that gets approved, that's all they would get. There's likely no other bill coming in 2024. So, like I said, he asked for $24 billion, and it got reduced down to $6 billion. That's 25%. He's now asking for $100 billion. If we use the same logic and the same math, get 25%, that's $25 billion. He asked for $24 billion initially. So is this just his way of getting what he wants? Or is he really hoping to get $100 billion, sending that over to Ukraine, and then not having to ask for anything else in 2024 because it's an election year? And the American people and the voters, they are more worried about what's happening within our borders than across the seas. Yeah, that's the real question. So let me ask you this. If we sent $100 billion to Ukraine, and this brought down the price of food and gas and things like that, would you be happy with the way we spent that money? Or would you rather have $100 billion, let's say, go to a Republican priority, which is finish building the border wall? $100 billion to help finish the border wall? Guess what? If we spent that money on the border and now there's less illegal immigrants coming into the country, that would also reduce the amount of money we're spending to house them, to give them food, health care, things like this. Not saying we shouldn't help, but at the same time, are we supposed to help those that come into this country illegally? I don't know. I want your thoughts. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. But that is what we know as of right now. $100 billion is exactly what President Biden wants to send to Ukraine. That's what he wants to ask Congress for. But they're trying to put together a plan, a proposal, and some ideas as to how they can actually do this. So, as soon as we get more information on this, I promise I'll fill you in on all the latest news and updates. Again, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing. I'll see you guys on the next one.